Hey guys, how's it going? I put up a post earlier and was asking people about what I should be drawing for my next live draw, and I didn't get any responses. So then after a while, I thought about it. It's like, well, what can I draw? What can I put together? And then I remembered that the Fantastic Four is coming back into the land of Marvel and everything. So I was like, well, we could always do, Fantastic Four. So basically, you do the four members of the Fantastic Four, and then that way you get the opportunity to kind of see, plan out the next 4 weeks there and kind of put it together that way. So that's what I started doing. Well, I figured who would be the first person that I'd want to draw in that regard. Well, the first person I'd want to draw in that regard is the ever-loving blue-eyed Thing. So the Thing is a character. His name is Ben Grimm. And Ben Grimm was a friend to Reed Richards in college in the comics. And he was one of the ones that went up on the ship with Reed and Sue and Johnny. And then when the cosmic radiation came through, of course, especially in Marvel Comics, there was a big thing where everybody's origin was somehow science based. And so they ended up going up into space. Well, when they did, they ended up each getting powers, the members of the Fantastic Four. Well, for Ben's case, Ben was the football player. He's kind of the popular guy. He was the beloved football player, and he, was the friends of the geek. And unlike most stories like this, he wasn't the friends of the geek just to get him to do like homework and stuff. He was actually a legit friend of Reed's, and so when his body began mutating due to the radiation that was on the ship, he ended up becoming the Thing. He became this really super powered, high powered creature, so to speak. I wouldn't say really creature. He never really lost his humanity, but his skin became rock hard and he got, physically tougher and all this other stuff. And, not quite Hulk level strength, but pretty strong for, a little bit stronger than the average human being strength. And Ben Graham, was referred to as the Thing. And so he, unlike the other members of Fantastic Four, whereas all the rest of them got powers that made them unique, but yet they kept their physical human appearance. Whereas Johnny was probably the sweetheart of the whole group, but yet, and I said Johnny, but Ben was more the sweetheart. Johnny's another story. Don't worry, we'll be talking about Johnny Storm at some point during this series of live draws I'll be doing over the next few weekends. And but Ben was really much the sweetheart of the team. He was the one that really cared about Reed as a friend, and he had no problem sharing that. Well, then whenever he got mutated and transformed by the cosmic rays, he became a monster to the point where I believe he might have been engaged to somebody at the time, and then they just kind of, I know in one of the movies they kind of portrayed that he was engaged. I don't remember if they did that in the comics or not, but I think they might have. I think they might have had him, a fiance that was going to get married to him in college, and then whatever. He came back from the mission, and he was looking like he was looking. Of course, she was like, nope, she wasn't having it. And so later on, years, would go by. Of course, you found out more of his backstory about how he grew up in a place called Yancey Street. And I want to say Brooklyn, New York. If anyone that knows anything about the Marvel Comics knows, uh, the Ben Grimm, along with a lot of the characters in the Marvel Universe, all grew up in some part of New York because that was where the Marvel Studios were at the time. And so a lot of the people that created the comics, like Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, rest in peace, by the way, it was Steve Ditko. I believe he passed away a day or so ago. And the different creators of Marvel Universe were all New York boys. And so basically they wanted to try to base as much of the comics on the real world as they could. So when they did a lot of their characters, of course, they made them, be from New York and be from Brooklyn, different parts of New York. So like I believe Spider-Man's from Queens, whereas Captain America, for example, is from Brooklyn as well. And so I kind of always wondered, like, if Steve Rogers ever ran into Ben Grimm or something like that, as a kid, maybe. I don't know. I kind of wonder about how some of the stuff for the crossover. Like, I would love to see a series of stories like where they were before they were heroes, and kind of see what would have happened if some of these people met some of the characters before they knew who they would later become. You know, I know they've done several different. Marvel's done a lot of different series in a lot of different ways, but I don't think they've ever done something like that. So I'd be curious to see if they did, because that'd be really neat. But anyway, so Ben Grimm is the thing. Like I said, he's a lot of people refer to him as the blue-eyed thing, because he's got blue eyes, and that's one of the few things he kept when he got transformed into the thing. And I believe it was something like his grandmother would refer to him as, "Is your ever-loving blue-eyed Benjamin Grimm." And so when he became a thing, there are certain things he kept as far as his origins go. He really didn't change as a person. And so he really just went, did all he could to remain as much human as he could, even though he physically didn't look as human anymore. He eventually was in a relationship with Puppet Master's daughter. Her name was Alicia Masters. And one of the most interesting thing about him about her, rather, was that she's blind in the comics. And so the thing about it is that she saw the beauty that was inside of Ben Grimm that had nothing to do with what he looked like. So that created an interesting dichotomy in the comics a lot of times, because, of course, especially, in the era that those characters were created, of course, you're still dealing with a lot of issues of civil rights. You're still dealing with a lot of issues of people being treated differently because of who they were, what they looked like, things like that. And so it's really cool to see a character that would love Ben Grimm for who he was, not for what he looked like. And so I think sometimes that kind of can be a commentary on us, even to today. We have people that sometimes view, who they love, who they care about based on what they look like. And, a lot of people dream of a day where people will honestly be willing to look at them for who they are and not what they look like to others or anything like that. So that's one of the reasons I love Ben Grimm, is that, he's the big monster looking character, but yet he probably had the most heart of any of the characters that were in the book. And then I say in the book because not only was he in a book, there were quite a few. I think there have been 3 Fantastic Four cartoons. There have been at least 3 Fantastic Four movies. Of course, with this Fox merger that everybody keeps talking about with Fox and Disney and different things like that as far as the movie properties go, people are wondering if the Fantastic Four will end up becoming part of the Marvel movie franchise. And we're not for sure if they will. I hope they are. I really do. I hope they become part of it, because I would love to see a Marvel-made Fantastic Four movie. I'd like to see if they got it right, because I honestly am not a fan of the other Fantastic Four movies. Although if you are, why don't you put that down in the comments? I greatly appreciate that. I'd like to see if anybody has a favorite. I know they did the one with the guy who played Reed, whose name I can't remember. I know Michael, I think it's Michael Childress or Michael Chinas or something like that, played the role of Ben Grimm in it. And I know Chris Evans was, of course, Johnny Storm, and then Jessica Alba was the Invisible Woman, or Sue Storm. And she would become Sue Richards, of course, because she is a Marion Reed. But anyway, one of the things that's really interesting about the thing that I like about VLL, so anybody that's seen me in videos knows I'm not a small guy myself. And so it's interesting to see a character who some people could look at and think, oh my gosh, they're a monster. But then to really get to know Ben Grimm and to know he has a warm heart and cares a lot about those he's close to, whether it be his adopted family in the Fantastic Four, whether it be Alicia Masters. Even though, I know at one point whenever they got together, the time they got together, her dad was trying to make puppets of all of the members of the Fantastic Four and different people in humanity and stuff like that. So that was kind of interesting, but he still really cared for Alicia even throughout that. Even once he found out that, she was the daughter of the villain that they were fighting, he still didn't hold it against her that her father was a bad man. And so I think that's interesting. That speaks a lot to who he is as a person. And it also speaks a lot to him as a character in the land of comics, because you don't see many characters who can, you know, really differentiate between what sometimes the sins of the father versus what the child does or what the child doesn't do. So I'm working around the eyes now, trying to get a little bit of shade of differentiation. I don't want to do much. Just want to get a little bit of thickness around the eyes. Again, since we mentioned the fact that, this is the ever-loving blue-eyed thing. So here we have, now you can't see all the words, of course, because his fists are covering up, but the expression that he uses quite a bit is, it's clobbering time. And so that's an expression that he uses, I don't know how many times. I kind of wonder if there's a counter that shows how many times he's actually said it's clobbering time to people. Uh-oh. So the camera fell down, apparently. Sorry about that, guys. One thing about a live show, when you're doing live, you can't, edit that out. So, fortunately, I just didn't realize I was going to knock it over when I did that. I was just trying to move and shift to get around and do some more inking of it. So, I apologize for that, guys. As you jump on, or if you watch this on the replay later, just want to apologize for that. So anyway, one of the other coolest things about the thing, and I kind of laugh about it because, like I said, there's been at least 3 or 4 different cartoon iterations. As a matter of fact, one of the cartoon iterations, we'll talk about this when I get to another one of the videos, there was a character left out for reasons. If you know what that is, go ahead and put that in the comments below. If you don't, get ready, because I'll talk about it when I talk about one of the other characters. But anyway, what was interesting about it is that they were like, well, we don't want kids to do this. And I'm like, well, you got Ben Grimm in there. It's not like kids are going to go paint rocks to themselves and try to make themselves look like Ben Grimm. But, that's beside the point. So, but one of the iterations of the cartoons, I believe on Switch, came out like late to early 2000s. And it was funny because they did these outfits, and a lot of times in the comics, Ben Grimm really didn't wear a suit like the rest of the members of the Fantastic Four did. Like, Mr. Fantastic had a suit, Sue had a suit, and Johnny had a suit. But, Ben just tended to have, like, pants, and then, like, the number 4 on his pants somewhere. But he really never wore a top much. But then, like, one of the cartoon iterations, he actually spray painted a 4 on his chest. And, like, they kind of let that be his de facto costume for a while. And I always thought that was a little bit weird to me, just because I was just like, why would you spray paint a 4 on yourself? I never really knew why. Never really knew. So, I'm going to move the camera again just a bit. So I'll make sure I get, okay, there we go. Get around the eyes now of Mr. Grimm. And go ahead and get the bridge there. One of the things that happened with him when he mutated, of course, was his face got a bit distorted to the point where he was, for some reason, his skeleton changed. And again, this is kind of the difference between him and everybody else on the team. Like, Reed Richards could go out and walk amongst the regular world. Sue could walk around the regular world. So could Johnny. But Ben never really could. Now, there are moments in the comics where he's been human. He's had human skin and different things like that. For a short time, he was able to kind of live like he used to live. But then something would always happen to where he would either have to, give up the human version of himself, or he would have to, or the change was only short-lived, so he wouldn't be able to keep it. And so there was a lot of times where they'd be like, I think one time Psycho Man told him that he could get his humanity back, but in order for him to get his humanity back, he had to let him take the team out. And I don't even think he gave him the option at the beginning. I think he just kind of shot him with this ray. And then later on, it's like, well, you can stay a human, but you have to allow me to kill the rest of your team. And so, of course, he gives up his humanity because, again, Ben's heart is bigger than he is. And so he just kind of like, nope, I'm not going to let you take out my family. And so he pretty much gives up the opportunity to be human for the sake of saving those he cares about. There's even a point in one of the series where I believe he could, like, Sue and Reed had split up for a while, and so like split up, like got divorced and split up and stuff, and then I think they eventually reconciled. But there was a point, and it might have been in the Ultimates. I don't remember if it was an Ultimate Fantastic Four book or not. But there was a point where Ben came out and basically admitted that he had always had feelings for Sue, and so they dated for a short time. I don't really know how I feel about that. Because again, there's certain things that you just, I don't know. No, that's me growling and talking in monosyllabic terms because I just didn't necessarily agree with that thought process. There's certain things you just don't do when you date people, and that's one of them. And it's one thing, I guess, if the person's no longer dating that person or married to that person, but to come out after all this time, years and years went by, and he's like, I've loved you all this time, and I think on the cover you see her kissing Ben, and it just kind of messed with me as a teen. I think it was probably not teenager, but I was a young adult when I saw it. I was just like, I don't know that I agree with this, Ben. But there again, I don't get paid to write comic book ideas or anything. I'm just a normal dude, and I'm just a fan. So anyway, if you guys are excited about the Fantastic Four books coming back, let me know. Let me know who your favorite Fantastic Four character is. Also, you can let me know which one of the Fantastic Four you want to see me draw next. That'd be cool. If I got a chance to hear from you guys, and you let me know which one you want to see me do, and we will definitely put it, see if we can get it done on the next one. I don't know which one I'm going to do, really. I haven't really thought that far ahead, but I know we're going to keep it, for the next few weeks, we're going to keep it very Fantastic Four related, just because, they are coming back at some point in the near future, so we're going to get to see them in books again and everything. That'll be nice, because I know for a while they weren't in the books, and that's a whole, Marvel's kind of way of saying, we don't want to promote Fox owning these characters. So there was a point they were in the book, and then they just ended it for that reason. And so with this Fox Marvel merger, I'm guessing they're bringing the book back because they know either way, whether they get it, which Fox pretty much said they want to sell to Marvel. So I'm hoping that they follow through with that. I know Comcast is trying to get in on it. And we'll see what happens there, but if they do, they do, and if they don't, they don't. But more than likely, Marvel's going to get the rights to the property. So at that point, then Marvel will definitely own and put all the things together for that. So, by the way, some of you may recognize there's a expression right here. It says "best in the world." There's a wrestler in WWE that used to come out saying it's clobbering time, based off of this character. So if you know who that person is that was in WWE for a while, you can put that down in the comments too. I'd love to see your thoughts on that as well. Some people didn't even realize that he got the expression from Ben Grimm. Like, some people are just like, oh, he just says that when he comes out to matches. Well, he did, but he definitely didn't get, it definitely wasn't originally his slogan. I thought it was hilarious because at one point I think he ended up writing a series for Marvel, and he even said, people will come up to him all the time saying that expression. And he's just like, you not realize where that comes from? So I just thought that was kind of cool. But there's the finished product there. There is Ben. There's the thing. And there you go. That is your first piece from the Fantastic Four series I want to do over the next few weeks. So, guys, as always, be blessed, be a blessing to somebody, and we'll see you guys next week with another Drawing Time with Will, Fantastic Four style. Who's it going to be? Come next week and find out. Thank you, guys.